Hello, everybody. Welcome to my show, The Lisa Lamont Show, where I bring experts into the house that are going to share tips and tools and techniques to make you the success that you deserve to be. And this week is no exception because I'm kicking off this new season with Joseph Blackman, who's in the house. Welcome, Joseph.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
I am so excited, because we're in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic going on.
Yeah.
A lot of people are stuck at home and they're missing to get out there and hang with other people. And a lot of people are talking about now's the time to do a podcast. And so I went into my peeps in LinkedIn. I looked for the number one person who creates and helps people make podcasts, and that's you, Joseph. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No, thank you for having me on and letting me just add value, share some tips and tricks on how you can blow up your personal brand. So this COVID, Corona, shelter in place, all this fun stuff. So I started Pod Producer about, 8-9 months ago. But it's actually an offshoot of this advertising agency I have. But the Pod Producer makes more sense for me now. Meaning, as soon as they said you can't go to work, you can't go see people, you can't go do the Starbucks face-to-face, one-to-one, belly-to-belly meetings, this was a kick in the butt for me and for everybody to get back online. We all know that we can find customers, leads, we can find money online, but this is that kick in the butt that if we can't go see somebody, if I can't go knock doors, if I can't go open up, open doorknobs to find customers or leads, this is the way to do it, is through online. And podcasting, I love it because all it is audio. It's something people can listen to and consume while they're doing something else. Most people listen to audio or podcasts while they're in their car, while they're working out, or while they're doing tasks around the house. So it's not like video where you have to watch it. It's audio where it can be on in the background and people can be learning from you. So I love the platform.
Well, and I love how you've taken this short window of time and you just blew up. And so can you also share what your other business is? Because it kind of does tie in. It actually does.
So this window, I think the shelter in place started end of March or April or end of February. So, and I mean, to be honest, the business started to grow from there also because people started to see like, okay, I've been seeing this pod producer, but now I can't go out, I can't create this, I can't go meet people. So I want to have some content for people to listen to. Okay, I'm gonna create a podcast. And your question was what, using the podcast to find more clients. Just kind of like what you're doing. What I advise is if you're a coach, if you're a content producer, if you're a business owner, the most simple way for me to get in front of somebody else is to give them what they want. I think that was how to make friends and influence people. To get what you want Zig Ziglar said, to get what you want in life is to help other people get what they want.
Yeah.
So I remember the business before Pod Producer, I was selling t-shirts, hats, branded apparel out of a brick and mortar office in Concord, California. And all my cold calls, all of my email marketing and all that stuff, I couldn't get to the decision makers to actually buy from me. I mean, I had a trickle of people coming in through the front door, but I couldn't go and get those star accounts, those A-level accounts that I wanted. So I said, how can I get in front of these people? So I said, everybody wants to be interviewed. They want to be highlighted. They want to be able to sing their song or tell their story. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast, and I called it the Bay Area Business Podcast. And all I did was I said, hey, Lisa, I want to interview you on the Bay Area Business Podcast. It's going to be 20-30 minutes of you telling your story. And I'm going to post it on my social media, and I'll give you the video to post on your social media. And, it's free of charge. There's no hidden, whoop-de-doo, it's just free of charge. And 9 times out of 10, at the end of every podcast interview, they would say, Joseph, what do you do besides this podcast? And I would tell them, hey, I make branded apparel, polos, hats, t-shirts, coffee mugs, all that stuff with your logo on it. And they go, well, I actually need that stuff. You're in front of me now. How much for this? Let me get a quote. And boom, I will start to turn business that way. So I found the value in podcasts because it allows me to get in front of people who would normally not let me get in front of them just with a cold call, because I'm adding value to them and then I end up receiving value. You got to plant the seed.
And when you reciprocate that way, a lot of people don't know that you get into their backyard also. So, and they get into yours. And so it's an even exchange of energy to do that. So I love
100%.
that you shared that. What, when I was watching your podcast, I've seen an example of it. One of the things you share is how to do a podcast in 8 days or less. So can you share with us what 8 days or less means?
So that's it's kind of the marketing tactic behind it, because when people think of a show, right? Let's any show on TV, you think of, you got to hire talent, you got to get the lighting, you got to get the audio and video, you got to get, the stage set up, the background. It's like a whole production. And at Pod Producer, what we say is we do all that for you. Really, what we do is we allow you to focus on the content. You record your 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, however long of a show you want, and we do the edits from there. We put on some opening bumper music. We put on some closing bumper music. We put in a little call to action or a commercial if you want one. And then we upload it to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Those are the 3 main podcast consumption platforms. It's super simple. You record, you send it to us. We take it, make it sound all nice and neat, and we upload it to the cloud. And that's how we say 8 days or less, because as soon as you get us your audio, we can get that we can get it syndicated through Apple, Spotify, Stitcher in 8 days or less. And we just try to take out all the daunting, everybody wants to start a podcast, but a lot of people don't know where to start, or they think it's so much, like there's so much involved in actually getting it started. We just take that all off their hands.
And that is exactly why I wanted to have you on the show, because a lot of people want to do the show, but they don't want to do all the other components that are attached to it. And so my shows is really raw, because I don't have all those extra, features of the introductions, the commercials and things like that. I used to. Now I used to do that, but my
life, laborious, right?
it is. And I'm also downsizing. I'm 62 years old. So the passion that
you don't look it.
Thank you. But the passion I had 10 years ago isn't where it was. So I'm still wanting to do, giving back. But at the same time, I'm not looking to grow my business. So I'm kind of in that giving back phase of my career. And so that's why I wanted you on there, because on my show, because you will help people to do the whole show. I mean, they can go on, do their show, and then they can turn it over to you. So at the end of the show, I'm going to have you share all your contact information so they can reach out to you. Plus, if you're listening to this, all that information will be attached to the show too. So what is one of the first things, if somebody's interested, what's the first 2-3 steps that they should to do if they're interested?
So usually what happens is they reach out and say, hey, I want to start a podcast. We hop on a quick 15-minute phone call. And I have videos for this, but I like to tell them on the phone because it helps get it across more. So I say, and the question that everybody gets is, hey, do you have a smartphone? Do you have one of these? This is an iPhone. Like, these are iPhones right here. If you have one of these, you can get started with the podcast. Of course, I have this Audio-Technica USB microphone. I got a DSLR camera behind me if I want to do the video part, but you don't need all that. The audio that can come out of an iPhone is good enough for you to be on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. So what I say is, you get your phone, you open up your audio notes, your voice recorder, or whatever your smartphone is, whatever you can record the audio notes. You put it a fist from your mouth. You take, it's like a fist. You put it, and you're talking over it and not into it, because if you talk into it, you get all the P's and it has the popping sound. But if you talk over it, a fist from your mouth, that's when you get the best audio. You record it for 15, 20 minutes. You hit that share button. You send it to Pod Producer, and we take it from there. Don't worry about having to start off with the microphone, with the lighting, with the lavalier, and all this other fun stuff. Just do your first couple shows with it, with the iPhone. And what I say is, you want to have at least 6 to 10 shows before you release your first one. Because, Lisa, you know how it is. You're an entrepreneur. Let's say you started a podcast, you started fresh tomorrow. You record a podcast episode tonight, right? Boom, you got your first one uploaded, posted, you sharing it to all your network. You're sharing it out to everybody. That next week, let's say life gets in the way. You're going on vacation, you're doing this or that, and you can't get that second one up. right? Life got in the way. You can't get that second one done. Now people are going to say, oh, Lisa, she doesn't, she's not consistent. I don't want to do business with her because she says she has a weekly podcast and she doesn't have one going out this second week. So I say have 6 to 10 already in a pool, already in a bank, to where you can drip those out over the next 6 to 10 weeks. And let's say by week 5, you're recording another 5. So now you have 15, you already released 5. Now you have 10 more already in your bank to go out. And that's that consistency. You'll kill them with consistency. You start that steamroll. So don't do just one. Always do multiples of them. And then your smartphone can get you started out. Those are the main 2 things that I tell people. Like, cut out all the extra production stuff. Just get your smartphone, develop that muscle, that fortitude that you can actually sit down and do something, like do 5 or 10 of them, and then get those out. And that speaks volume.
Well, and here's a perfect point. You and I, we're recording this show in advance. He's launching off as my first guest, but we are pre-recording right now for that very reason, and talk about glitches coming up. So last week, my phone and my computer crashed all within 10 days. And so on my phone was my calendar. Well, when my phone broke, my calendar broke. And because I'm 62, life, whatever happens, I thought our show was for today. Well, actually, it was scheduled for a week earlier. And so Joseph was really cool. He reached out and goes, hey, are we still on for 10 a.m. this morning? And then I'm not even checking LinkedIn because everything's out, like all my electronics are out. And so 5 days later, I go on there, I check, and I'm like, oh, shit.
I thought the COVID got you. I was like, no, not the COVID. No, not Lisa.
And he was so cool about it. And so things are going to show up. I don't have my microphone attached, my Yeti microphone, because I have a new Mac. The new Mac won't connect to my microphone. So we're just kind of going audio. So my sound isn't the quality, but guess what? I'm still here. I'm still showing up. Joseph is here. And so I just want to say life happens.
Yeah. And another thing is, don't be afraid to ask certain people to be on your show. You'd be surprised, like these people with 20, 30,000 followers on Instagram, or like, they got this nice headshot with all these different qualifications on LinkedIn. These people are sitting at home doing nothing, and they would love to share their story and talk about their business. So don't be afraid to reach out to these influencers, these high level people, to get them on your show and ask them to, talk their stuff. Tell us what they know and add some value to your listeners. So I love that. You just reach out to people.
What was so cool? One of my friends, Samantha Parker, she's an entrepreneur. And 2 years ago, she, at a whim, asked Gary Gary Vaynerchuk, to be on her show. Yeah. And she couldn't believe it. He said yes. And he was on her show, and she's just like, oh my God, I this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you just never know. I had a Harvard brain neurologist on my show. I'm just like, oh, I couldn't believe it. Another woman I had on my show, her name was Rhonda Stapley, and she was on the Dr. Phil show, and she survived being captured by Ted Bundy. And I thought, oh, she would make a great guest on my show. And I'm like going, oh, she's on Dr. Phil, I'll never get her. She was so grateful to be on the show because I wanted her to share her story, because I wanted women to know, you got to be cautious and careful. So, that's just some of the tips that I wanted to share too. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to reach out. These people want to tell their story.
So how long should a podcast be? I have some people that I know that go on and on like for 2 hours, and I think everyone's going to want to listen. There are exceptions. What do you suggest for starting out?
So I get this question all the time, and I've researched it, and I actually look at all the analytics of people's podcasts, when people hop on the show, when they listen to it, and when they drop off, when they turn it off. And it shows that, and it's a correlation with the average commute time, which is 30 minutes. So I say you want to make a show between 20 and 30 minutes. If it's 15 minutes or less, I would say skip intros, like skip the repetitive intro outro, and just have a block of content for 10 or 15 minutes. But if you're going to do 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's okay to have the intro and the call to action, because it's a long enough show to carry that. But the optimal time is 20 to 30 minutes. But let's be honest, like, I love the Dark Knight movies, the Batman movies. I would watch 6 hours of it because I love it and it's good. If like Joe Rogan has some people on his podcast where they go 3 hours long, but if it's still intellectually stimulating, if it's good, I might get out of the car after my commute, or I might finish my workout and I might put it on the way home. Like I might pause it, listen to it later. So it's okay if you go long if it's good. The question I get all the time is, should I do a solo podcast or should I do a interview format? So there's two schools of thought with that. The energy and the ease of doing an interview podcast, it's already built into it. You and I, we can bounce our energy back and forth. You're asking me questions, I'm giving replies, and we go back and forth. You're sharing color commentary. It's a good flow. If this was a solo podcast, you would have to carry it for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And a lot of us, we're not really built for that. And I get it. Granted, there's stuff we're passionate about and we could carry it for 15, 20 minutes by ourselves, but it's not as easy. So I always say start off with the hard part first, because once you do the hard part, that becomes easier, and then do the easy. Because like, what do they say? When you're hard on yourself, life becomes easy. When you go easy on yourself, life becomes harder. So start off by yourself, just getting that discipline, that mental muscle of being able to do something on your own, positive for yourself, that shows you can actually do it, and then start doing interview podcasts. Because if you start off with an interview, like just imagine like how our logistics went. I reach out to you, you can't do it. You reach out to me, I can't do it that day. And now life is getting in the way. But if I did it by myself, there's no other, life can get in the way or logistical issues, and I can do it on my own.
True. You know what? I never thought about it that way. I also think, personality styles, the introvert, the extrovert. I think an extrovert personality would be someone that could probably carry their own easier. But I also, if you could address an introvert, because some people are really shy, but they're passionate about the topic in that. What do you say for that?
So if you'd be surprised, because my background is sales. So historically, the best salesmen are introverts. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they're more thoughtful, they're more conscientious. Like, we look at ourselves in the situation more than an extrovert. An extrovert, they just want to extrovert, like put everything out. Like, you don't care how I look, you just want to talk to everybody and get everything out and blah, 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 blah. An introvert goes, okay, my customer said XYZ, okay, that's how he's feeling, let me reply with this or that. You're more thoughtful. You're seeing yourself. Okay, he says he doesn't have time, but he's sitting down. He's offering me a chair and a drink. Like, okay, that means he does have time. An extrovert, you miss all that stuff. Yeah. So it's okay if you're an introvert to do your own show, because, like you said, if you're passionate about it and if you're adding value and if you're not in it for self, which a lot of extroverts are, if you're in it to actually add value to your listeners, to your viewers, then it makes sense. The motive is there. So if you're an introvert, that's perfectly fine. I would rather hear from introverts all day, every day than extroverts.
It's true.
But
well, Dr. Phil, Oprah, they're introverted, and then you've got Tony Robbins, who's an extrovert. Two extreme examples. Yeah. And they have two different styles. I mean, Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, he's an extrovert. Yeah. They're in your face. They just say they have no filters. It's F this, F that. But when you have the more introverts, they're more thoughtful and they think about that. So
and then one thing I learned in Toastmasters is that you should care more about what your listeners or viewers are learning than about yourself. Yes. Because if you care, like if I worried about how I look and, hey, Lisa, don't post this because my beard wasn't right, or, something happened. Like, if I'm worried about myself or my makeup or my hair or whatever, like you care more about yourself than you do the actual listeners. And that's a problem. You should be able to wake up fresh out of bed with a hot idea in your mind, your hair all crazy, no makeup, you haven't brushed your teeth yet, but you're willing to get your message out because somebody needs to hear what you have to say, and they do. So, and
that is what a podcast is good for, right? You don't have to get your, because we're also recording this video because for those of you that are listening, I asked Joseph because he has this great energy in explaining things. So this podcast is also going to be available on video. If you go to Lisa Lamont 100 on YouTube, it's going to be uploaded there also, so people can also see you and connect, because I think that energy is important too.
Sure. I tell everybody, if you're going to do an audio podcast, you can use your iPhone camera, do the video, record yourself on video and just send us the audio. We'll take care of audio portion, but have that video for a bank. Because think about it, we've been on this podcast for 15 minutes. Like like I can take these last 15 its own segment and turn that into its own piece of content as a video. Yeah, like once you send me the video, I'll go through it, I'll bookmark it and say, okay, let me chop this out, let me break this out. So now I have 7 pieces of content from one recording that we have. So when people do a 30-minute podcast, I say record the video and just have it. You don't have to do anything with it yet. Just hold it, put it in a Google Drive folder, send us the audio. But in the future, you might want to grab that piece of video content and start doing some video drips on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and you have the content already. So they call it repurposing content. Same with your blog post. If you wrote a blog post, make it a podcast. If you made it a podcast, make it a video. If you made it a video, make it like a questionnaire or a mini ebook. You can repurpose your content, and then now you have more pieces of content for people to hop into your funnel.
And the other thing that I like to share too is that I am constantly sharing my top past podcasts.
Sure.
So when I've had a really great guest that has shared really good ideas, I don't just share it once and it's on my website. I'll repurpose it again. I'll share it out with LinkedIn, and then maybe 2 weeks later share it on Instagram. Like, you don't have to, you can put it across all your social media platforms, but also you can break out and do chunks.
Yeah. And it's like most of the stuff we're talking about is evergreen. It's mainly just like 30,000 foot view tactical stuff. It's not like in the weeds, super like niche down stuff. So yeah, it's evergreen.
Do you recommend that somebody finds their niche target? Like, for example, I work mostly with women in business and high-tech women in business. I niche it down. Do you recommend to do that, or do you think that people starting off should just be generic, or does it?
So niches, the riches are in the niches. So there's money in the niche. Like let's say, like, think about whatever local town you're in. A body shop guy, right? He's got his garage. He does body work. He pops out dents or whatever. Yeah. He might make 50, 60, 70 grand a year take home, right? But think about the guy who only does body work for, for Mercedes-Benz or for European style cars or for like Ferraris. They probably make 400, 500, like they make exponentially more. They're doing the same work, but they found their niche. They found their lane. And once you become a commodity, people can shop you around. Like, I can go to another body shop person, but for me to find a Ferrari body shop guy locally, it's going to be hard. So he can charge me whatever he wants. Like, I'm on his terms now. Yeah. So I would say find what your passion is, of course, but use that to segment it down to your niche. But a caveat to that, once you find your niche, like a lot of people think, okay, I found my niche. Let me just figure that out, like just keep beating that over the head. No, find your niche, but go wide when you're testing out things. Like, let's say, like for me, most of my clients are coaches. So I go for life coaches, business coaches, fitness coaches, like people who have something to say, who are coaches. Yes. And that's most of my clientele. So I'm not going to go for coaches and all my different ad marketing, my targeting. I'm going to go for, let's say I'd go for, just business owners in general, something real wide, because now I get to test and see what's actually working, not on my core niche. Because if I burn out and I wear out my core niche, and they call it, ad fatigue. When you see somebody's ad too much, you become tired of it and you'll never buy from them again, So you want to test out your ads in something that can't get tired, because there's millions of business coaches, but there's only so many like life coaches who work in holistics and for pregnant women, over 40 or something. So find your niche, but test in the ocean, but you're going to make your money in that small pond.
Well, you just touched just now about ads. Creating ads. Can you explain why a person would use ads and how that would help them once they've created their podcast?
Okay, so I get this question, how do I grow my podcast? Because it's not like, the Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. It's just like a website, just like anything. If you build it, who cares? If you have a podcast and you have 50 episodes on there, Nobody cares. Like, you have to actually get that podcast in front of people. There's two ways I say you can grow it. Follow jacking. Follow jacking means like, okay, so Lisa, let's say you have 10,000 connections on LinkedIn. I have 10,000 on LinkedIn. Out of the 20,000 people, I might get 4,000 of your connections, eyeballs on me, and I might be able to, let's say for the sake of numbers, 1%. If I get 4,000, 1%, that's 400. Out of 400, I might convert 2%. So let's say I convert 50 out of your 400 to actually be my customer. Now that podcast actually makes sense to do. Let's say I interview you, I get 400, I convert 50. I do that again. I find somebody else. I find Jackie. I find Paul. I find Tim. And now I'm actually using their following to get more eyes on my product and my brand. And that's what I call follow jacking. And that's the interview format. With ads, so ads are great because on Facebook and Instagram, they're cheap, but you have to make sure that, okay, so you don't just put ad money behind your podcast, because think about it. Let's say you're spending 45 cents to get, XYZ person to listen to your 30-minute show. That's going to be tough. That's going to be real tough. What I would do, and I don't spend money behind my podcast, but I spend money for the pod producer. What I do is behind a 3 to 5 minute informational, it has to be like something educational, something actually that they can learn from and actually better themselves or better the business from. You make a 3-minute video on that, and you put your money behind that. At the end of that video, there's a call to action, and this is the start of the funnel. So you got your video. The call to action is give me your email address. Once you get their email address, you put them on your email drip campaign. After email, after email, after email, after email, they sign up for your, they finally want to hop on a 15-minute phone call. If I can't close them on signing up with Pod Producer, then I might be able to sign up, get them on this $10 ebook that I said on how to blow your podcast up. So now you're putting the money behind the actual educational video, and you're getting them in your funnel from there. So I wouldn't put money behind a full podcast, but you're building your brand. That's why we have this thing called a personal brand package, where we build all that out for you. We do the top of the funnel, your lead magnet. We do an ebook for you. We do an actual paid content course for you and all that, to where you can get somebody on top of the funnel with your podcast, and they can come down and buy that, $1,500 actual content course, or your $300 an hour coaching phone program, or whatever they might have. So yeah, ads work. They cost money. I would say just work on your organic game. Post something every day for 30 days. No, start for 10 days. Post something every day for 10 days. And then hit me up and say, hey, it worked, because I know it does. LinkedIn will see that you're posting something, and they'll start giving you more and more juice and more juice and more juice. You get more eyeballs on it, and then customers will start to hop into your funnel.
Well, the other thing, I thank you for sharing that information. The other thing that just struck me too is a lot of people that are my clients, they are women executives in high tech, and they're interested in doing podcasts. And I was telling them that I was going to have you on the show. So yeah. Shout out to, to all my peeps that are in high tech, because you're the person that can take their show and promote it for them, because they want to hit the high tech target market. And so you would know how to do that. You would know how to get them into Microsoft and F5 and AWS and all these other, these companies. So you could be specific. So for those of you listening, I've already talked to Joseph about that. So how can I appreciate your time. I want to wrap this up with, how can people find you? What all services do you offer besides helping them with podcasts? So
how you can find me is podproducer.biz. That's the website. On LinkedIn, you'll see some of the content I produce. Joseph Blackman, founder of Pod Producer. The only two things I offer, and I'm good about just trying to be great at one or two things. So the one thing is, of course, the podcast production. The second thing is the personal branding package. The personal branding package is like the next level. Like the Pod Producer, we get you started with the podcast. But if you really want to blow up your business and get your brand popping, the personal branding package, again, it's an actual email drip campaign that we set up for you. We do all the writing copy. We do 15 emails of a drip after they opt in. We create a landing page for you to where somebody, let's say they hear your podcast, they see your video, they click the link, they come to this page and it has your video. Hey, I'm so-and-so, I do this and this and that. If you want to learn more, drop your email address below. We automate all that for you. It's autonomous, it works by itself. We create an ebook for you, which is your lead magnet. Most ebooks don't need to be more than 15 pages. It's all it is something to say that, okay, my name is Joseph, or my name is Lisa. I can actually put a piece of work together for you to consume it. And it's nice and neat and packaged up. So that 15-page ebook is your lead magnet. They give you their email address for the lead magnet. They get the email, they get the ebook. Then we start them on the drip campaign, which pushes them to either like $100 an hour coaching call, or we get them on that coaching course that you can sell for $1,500, $1,700, $5,000, whatever you can demand in your market. So those two products, the personal branding package and the pod producer.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day down there in sunny California. And I'm up here in Washington State, in actually Mukilteo, Washington. And we have sunshine. Like I was telling Joseph, we're in our little 2-week stretch of the reason why we're in Washington, right? But other than that, it is. Well, thank you so much for being on this show. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. Until next time, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
So if you could through LinkedIn, just send me all those things that you just shared. I'm going to attach it all. I'm going to give you the show within, if not today, tomorrow. I'll message it to you so you can look at it. But I'm not going to share it until September when I launch it. So
perfect.
I'll get it to you. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much.
Will do. All right, Lisa. That was perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.